Hey guys, hope you're well. Here we have the September exam 2023 from the Gauteng province. Maths Literacy, paper 1, 3 hours long, 150 marks. You can download the paper by checking the description below. With this question, the questions will carry on. So we've actually got 9 questions. There's 2 over here, then it goes all the way to number 8, and then on the last page we have number 9. Okay, so it says Brian is planning a trip to Canada to go visit his uncle. His uncle is a professional tour guide and takes people to various places on trips. The tours take place in difficult terrain, the cost of the tours vary, and below you'll find all the information for a full week stay with sightseeing. Okay, so we've got option number 1, and then we've got option number 2. So option number 1 is a 1 week backpacker. Now, backpackers are usually very cheap. I was in Thailand earlier this year, 2023, and I did a little bit of hotel and a little bit of backpacker, and backpackers is much cheaper. It's like where you sleep on bunk beds, but it's really fun. You meet a lot of people, and generally it's a lot cheaper as well. So here you can see there's backpacker, and then here you see there is hotel. Brian's father, Dominique, will cover all of Brian's expenses for the trip, lucky guy, including flights and accommodation. Dominique will also give Brian 24,500 Rand for spending and additional expenses. Nice. Brian needs to fly from OR Tambo in Johannesburg to Toronto, which is in Canada. Pearson International Airport in Canada. Oh, it says there. Brian found a direct flight costing 16,000, including all taxes. According to the current exchange rate, there we've got the exchange rate. Okay, so we pretty much have this person, Brian, going on holiday, and that sounds like the dad's just going to pay for most of the stuff. Right. The first question says, identify the exchange rate between the two currencies. So we can just take this over here. So we can just say $1 Canadian, or it's actually that's not the way we write it. You do it like that, and that's equal to 13 Rand 48. This question for 2 marks. Brian did some calculations to determine the cost for sightseeing. He states that only his stay on the cheaper option, which is this one, will cost 161,760 Rand. What? Brian did some calculations to determine, how long is this guy going for? Like 2 years. The tours take place in different terrain. The cost of the tours vary below. Okay. So he says Brian did some calculations to determine the cost. He states that only his stay, will cost 161,000, proof by showing calculations. Okay, so it says here 1 week backpacker sightseeing. Okay, so I think this is just the stay. They're not making it very clear. Oh, sorry, they did say for sightseeing, and then here it says sightseeing. Okay, so we're going to take this option because it's the cheaper one. They said that it's the cheaper option, and we're just going to convert that into Rand. So we're going to use this exchange rate. So we can just say 12,000 multiply by 13.48, and that'll give 161,760. Okay, so yeah, that's right. Proof by showing all calculations. Okay, so we got that. Perfect. Just out of interest, when I was in Thailand in the beginning of this year, I was there for about 2.5 months, and I didn't really have a plan to come home. Like, I was just going to travel for as long as I wanted to. But then the one day or the couple of days, I just started getting a little bit over it, I guess. And I started getting a little over having to find new places to sleep every night. And I was moving around a lot, going to all the different islands and things like that. And so I was there for about 2.5 months, and it's quite nice. Like in Thailand, if you stay in a backpacker, you can stay for around 200 Rand a night. If you go very entry level backpacker, like 200 Rand a night, that's what you can go for. So that's really cool. Of course, you can go stay in fancy hotels, but when you're young, I mean, I would highly advise stay in backpackers. I met so many nice people that I still talk to today. And whereas if you stay in a hotel, you don't really see many people. That's only when you're older one day and you've got a family and blah, 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 blah. But yeah, Thailand, really cool place. I would recommend it. It's crazy. It's pretty wild. The nightlife is insane. If you ever go to Bangkok or to Phuket, just trust me, it's crazy. Okay, but let's carry on with this exam. So, option 1, option 2. Okay, Brian's father. Okay, so all of this is stuff we already know. So it says, according to the exchange rate, we already know that too. This question says, determine how much money Brian's father will spend on his return flight and spending money. Round your final answer to the nearest rand. So it says, determine how much money in rand Brian's father will spend on his return flight. When they say return flight, they mean direct return flight, meaning that that's to and from. That means how much are you going to pay to go there and back? Okay, so it's there and back. So that's how much he's going to pay for the flight. So it says how much we'll spend on his return and spending money. How much did he say on spending money? He said that amount over there. So we'll just say 24,500 plus 16,879, and that'll give us a total of 41,379. 41379. And then they asked us to round off your final answer to the nearest 100. So that would be 41400. This one says, write down the cost of the return flight in words. The return flight, here we go. So that's going to be 16,879. 16,879. Oh, and then we should say rand, because it's in rand. Okay, write down the cost. We've done that. 1.1.5. Brian plans to spend only 85% of his spending money while on his trip and save the rest. Ah, you sneaky guy. You ask your parents to give you spending money and then you don't spend all of it. Determine how much money he will spend on the trip. Well, he's going to spend 85%. So you're just going to say 85% of 24,500. Now, of means multiply, so we can change that to a multiply. And then 85%, you can either say 85% on your calculator, or you could say 0.85, or you could say 85 over 100. There's different ways of handling that part over there. Now, if you go calculate that, you're going to end up with 20,825 rand. One of the cool things I did in Thailand, so in Thailand, obviously you've got the northern part and the southern part. Now the northern part is more like cultural, it's more relaxed. I rather went to the southern part where it's all the islands and it's all the island parts. And one of the islands, I went to 3 main islands. Well, I went to Phuket. I was in Bangkok, but there were 3 islands that I went to. Maybe you've been to Thailand or you're going to go to Thailand one day, but it was Koh Samui, Koh Tao, and Koh Phangan. Now, in Koh Tao, it's a world-famous island for scuba diving. So I went and did my scuba diving license there, and saw some crazy things, swam right next to whale sharks and things like that. But what else was I going to say? Yes, and then in Koh Phangan, you get something called a full moon party. But I actually chose not to go because apparently it's really overrated, apparently. I went to the half moon party. It was like in the jungle. It's crazy. And what else can I say that's interesting? I know you have to study right now, but what else? Oh, one of the cool things I did was just renting a scooter. So like if you ever go traveling to those kinds of cities, I mean, obviously you need to know how to ride a scooter. Don't do it if you don't know how to ride it. But it was just so cool being able to get on a scooter whenever you want to, and then just go travel all the way around. It's so much cheaper than getting a taxi the whole time, because obviously you're a foreigner or you're a tourist and they're just going to rip you off. But if you have your own scooter, super cool. But I can tell you that getting a scooter in places like Bangkok, there are so many people on scooters and it is pretty wild. Like, it's crazy. Lots of people on scooters all around you. So you got to know what you're doing. Okay, I promise I'll try not to bring this up again. So this next question says, show how Brian's total savings adds up to that. Okay, so we know that the dad's giving him that amount. He's only going to spend that amount over there. So surely, if we go and minus those two values, we'll see how much he will be able to save after going traveling. How nice is this father? Just gives the guy money and then he doesn't have to spend all of it and he can just keep the rest. I'll just keep telling my parents I'm going traveling. Meanwhile, I'll go stay at my friend's house. So that's going to be, if you minus those two, it's going to be 3,675. 3,675. There we go. And then, of course, if they've got 0, 0, we'll just do it as well. Okay, this question says, write down the formula that is used to determine the probability. So they're just talking about probability in all types of scenarios. So you could say something like number of outcomes over total. Let's write that a bit better. Total number of outcomes. You could also say number of events over total number of events. Okay, that's all done. This question. Remember, there's still one more on the next page. There we go. There are 6 adult male tourists, 9 adult female tourists, and 2 female babies on the tour. Determine the total number of possible outcomes. Okay, what do they mean? Like probability, or what do they want? Okay, I guess they just want us to say the number of possible outcomes. For what, though? I don't get it. But anyway, I think they just mean if we add these numbers together. So 6 plus 9 is 15, plus 2 is 17. Okay, yeah, I went and checked that out. That is the correct answer. That's a bit weird. Pretty random question. Next one. On his return to South Africa, Brian will invest the 3,675. Remember, that's how much he's saving. So now he's going to invest his money at 15%. That's quite a good investment. 15% simple interest per year for a period of 1 year. Oh, they're not even going to ask us to calculate it. Define the term interest. Boring. So interest is just the money that you earn when you invest. So it's the money earned on an investment. So for example, if you invest 1,000 Rand and after 1 year it's worth 1,200, then the interest, the amount of money that you earned is 200 Rand, for example. With this question, they will carry on into the next slide. So we've got these 2 over here, and then we've got these 3 over here. Okay, I do apologize for these random symbols in the background. It's from Stanmore Physics, and they embed those images onto their papers. Yeah, and you could probably try to remove it, but it's a bit of a mission, so I just leave it there. So it says that the grade 12 learners learn about taxation during their maths literacy lesson. Tato then looked at corporate taxation in different countries. What a good student. He's just so interested in the knowledge of what they've been taught. So Annexure A shows the global corporation tax levels in perspective for 2021. Okay, so I know I cut some of this off, but it wasn't important. So it just says global tax levels in perspective. So it's pretty much just the tax rate it's the corporate tax rate. So in Australia, it's 30%, France, 28%, blah, 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 blah. Ireland, 12.5. So it says study Annexure A. That's this one, by the way. Identify the mode. Mode means most, but that doesn't mean the highest number. It means which number do you see the most? Do you see the most? Because some of you might say, oh, that's the mode because it's the most. No, it's actually going to be 25. Can you see that we see the number 25.0 twice? So that's the number that is called the mode. So we'll just write it exactly how they have it. This one says, identify quartile 1, quartile 3 of the overall global tax levels for 2021. So what you can do, you can actually just, if this doesn't look nice to you, you can take the numbers. Now remember, when we're doing quartiles and things like that, we always go from smallest to largest. So we could go 12.5, 15, 15.8, 19, 21, 24, 25, 25, 28.4, and 30. Okay, so let's try to find the middle so long. So the way I like to find the middle is I block off from either side, then I carry on, then I carry on, then I carry on. Okay, so the middle is in between there. Okay, so that's where your middle will be. Now what I like to do is I like to look at this as the lower half and this as the upper half. So if I can find the middle of that, which would be this number over here, can you see that number's perfectly in the middle of these 5? Okay, and then this number's perfectly in the middle of these 5. So that would be your lower quarter because it's the middle of the lower half, and then this would be your upper quarter, which is the middle of the upper half. And so it'll be 15.8 as our Q1 and 25 as our Q3. Okay, now these 3 questions says, select the correct answer in brackets to complete the sentence. The median is also known as, okay, so median actually just stands for the middle. It's the middle. So it's directly over here, and it is called Q2. That's sometimes what it is called. And so the median is also known as quartile 2, as it represents, now this is 25%, this is 50%, and this is 75%. So it represents 50%. Okay? So the correct answers here would be quartile 2 and 50%. This question says, which countries represent the lower quarter of global corporation tax levels in perspective? Okay, so which countries represent the lower quarter? So what we can do there is just go back to those numbers that we wrote out over here, and let's just take the lower quarter numbers. So it will be all the countries below the lower quarter. So if this is your lower quarter, then it's the numbers below, it's the countries below that. So it's the 12.5, which is Ireland and then Canada. So it's going to be Ireland and then Canada. I love the word Ireland. And then Canada. So it's going to be Ireland and so they represent the lower quarter. This one says, state the meaning of selecting a country in quartile 3 with regard to probability. Very weird question, like it doesn't really make sense. So when they say quartile 3, they're saying everything up to quartile 3. So, by the way, it's not a nice question, so I wouldn't stress too much about that one, the way that they're asking it, but anything up to quarter 3. So you're choosing any country up until that point over there. So we could say, it says state the meaning of selecting a country in quartile 3. It would mean, that would mean that you select a country within you could say something like the lower 75% of the countries, for example. Johnson is a physiotherapist. He was contacted by SARU, which is a South African rugby union, to give the Sevens rugby players a massage during the rugby tournament that was held in Cape Town during December 2022. Johnson hires 13 masseuses to perform this duty. Okay, so he's a physiotherapist and he employs or he hires 13 masseuses to help with massages on the day. Now it says, study the table above and answer the questions that follow. Show by means of calculations that the income for a single massage is 135 Rand. Well, the table might be a bit confusing, but let me explain. When they say number of sessions, they're meaning that there's 13 masseuses and they're each going to give one massage for that day. Okay? So there were 13 massages done in total. And so there were 13 massages done. This was the total price. So if you divide those two numbers, then we get 135 Rand. 135 Rand. And that's what they said. Then it says calculate the values of A and B. So A is over here. So Can you see the relationship here? If there's one session, then they need 13 masseuses. If there's two, then there's 13 masseuses in total, but they each had to do 2 massages. So there were 26, 26 massages that were done. Then, so this number multiplied by 13, this number multiplied by 13, this number multiplied by 13. So you can just take this number and multiply it by 13 to get A. So it'll be 8 multiplied by 13. And that'll be 104. Now, to calculate B, well, we know now that to go from this number to this number, you multiply with the price of a massage, which is 135 Rand. So you could even test this yourself. If you take this number and multiply it by 135 Rand, you would also get that. And so if you take this number and you multiply it by 135, you end up with 5,265 Rand. This question says, complete the formula to calculate the total income per session. Well, how did we work out these values over here? What we did is we took this number, we took this number multiplied by this number. So it's going to be number of masseuses multiply by income for single massage. Income for a single massage, which is this number here. They're just asking us, how do you calculate this value? So all we did was we took this one and we multiplied it by the income for a single massage. If you wanted to, you could also change this to 135 Rand. That's also fine. This question over here for 6 marks. Ooh, and there's another one for 6 marks. Okay, things are going to get more exciting. Prove that the total income for the weekend, if they start working on Friday and finish on Sunday, will be 78,975. There are 15 sessions per day. Okay, so they're going to start on Friday and finish on Sunday. So let's assume that they're going to work all weekend. Okay, so they're going to work on Friday, Saturday, and they're going to work on Sunday. They're going to do 15 sessions per day, 15, 15, 15. And so you got to think about this. If this number here was a 15, then remember your number of masseuses is going to be, remember how we went from, because remember number of sessions per day, they said that there's 15. And to go from this number to this number, we said that you have to multiply by 13. So if we say 15 multiplied by 13, that'll give us 195 masseuses per day. Then you're gonna, that's per day, so you're then gonna multiply that by 3. So you're gonna say 195 multiplied by 3, and that, because it's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, which is 585. And then that means there's 585 massages taking place. So to work out the total income, you're going to take that multiplied by the cost of a massage, which is 135. And if we work this out, we get exactly their value. Thank goodness. 78975. This question, last one. Johnson pays each masseuse 1,000 Rand for the weekend. Okay, and 50 Rand for each massage that they did. He needs to rent a room at the Cape Town Stadium to perform, which costs 4,800 Rand per day. Calculate his total expenses and express the total income to total expenses as a ratio in unit form. Wow, that's a good question. So we got to try figure out, let's go figure out what Johnson's expenses are going to be. Okay, so let's go work out expenses. So we know that there are a total of 13 masseuses that are each going to be paid 1,000 Rand. So that's already 1,000 multiplied by 13, which is 13,000 Rand. That's just for that part over there. Then, now we need to look at, we're going to look at this part over here. So remember, there were a total of 585 massages that we calculated from Friday to Sunday in the previous question. Remember, we said that there were 15 sessions per day. That's what they said over here. But then the number of masseuses, we said we'd multiply that by 13, and that was 195. But that is per day. And then we had Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So there's 585 massages taking place. He pays 50 Rand for each one as like a bonus. So let's see how much he pays in total. 29,250 Rand. And then he also has to pay 4,800 Rand per day to rent space at Cape Town Stadium. So for 3 days, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, he would spend 14,400 Rand. So the total expenses is going to be the 13,000 plus 29,250 plus 14,400, and that'll give us a total of 56,650. 56,650. So that's the expenses. And then what is the total income? Well, we worked that out in the previous question as 78,975. So they said calculate his total expenses and express the total income to the total expenses as a ratio in unit form. So we take the smaller number, which is the expenses, and we put it, let's just leave out the R for now, like that, and then we put it next to the larger number. Now, when they say unit form, you have to make the smaller number become a 1. So we will divide by 56650, and what you do to that side, you're also going to do to this side, and that's going to give you 1 to 1.39. HRM Domestic is a company that helps domestic workers find jobs. They ensure that domestic workers are not underpaid for the work that they do. Income is based on hourly, weekly, and monthly rates. Workers work 45 hours per week and 195 hours per month. Study the table and answer the questions. Determine the value of C, the minimum hourly rate for 2022. There's 2 ways you can do this. So they're telling you that in the year 2022, the monthly is 4,522. So that's how much the domestic worker is paid for the month. Now, in a month, they said that there is 195 hours. So you could say 4522.05 divided by 195, and that'll give 23 Rand and 19 cents. But you could have also done it using the weekly amount. So you could have said 1043.55. Now, for weekly, there are 45 hours in a week. So if you say 1043.55 divided by 45, you get the exact same value. Whether you work out the weekly or the monthly, the per hour rate should stay the same. So it's going to be 23.19. Determine the percentage increase in monthly income. So we're looking at monthly income rounded off to 1 decimal. Okay, so we're only looking at these 2 numbers over here, and we're just going to use this formula. So we're just going to say that it's the new income, which is the 4522.05, minus the old income. Let me rather do this somewhere else. I'm going to run out of space over there. So we could say 4522.05 minus 3722.55 divided by the old, which is 3722.55 multiplied by 100. And if you go work this out. Okay, now remember they said round your answer. So I'm getting 21,4772, but they said round it to 1 decimal place. So that means you're going to round this number. And the way that you round that number is by looking at this number. Now that number is a 7. So that 7 is definitely going to cause it to round up. So it's going to become 5. So it's 21.5%. Steffi asked if she could work overtime to earn extra money. The person that she works for agrees that she could work on Saturdays for 200 Rand per day for only 5 hours. Wow, that's really nice compared to this over here. Determine her hourly wage for that day and state whether she was paid the correct minimum wage per hour for the year 2022. So if she earns 200 Rand for the day and there's 5 hours of work, then the per hour will be 200 divided by 5, which is going to be 40 Rand per hour. So determine her hourly wage, there it is, and state whether the correct minimum wage per hour, whether she earned it. So we could say yes, she was paid, and then you can just carry on here, more than the minimum wage. Because remember, the minimum wage is 23 Rand and 19 cents per hour, but she was getting paid 40 Rand per hour. So she was getting paid more than what she has to get paid. With this question, there will be more on the next slide. So here we've got 2 questions, and then we've got one over here. So this is a nice 6 marker coming up. Yo, it's a lot of information on the screen. Mr. Navidad works for Let's Pack. He is a salesman who travels widely to advertise the products. He drives a Ford Ranger that has a current value of that. He travels that far per month, and travel allowance can only be claimed the following month after. Okay, travel allowance can only be claimed the following month after the number of kilometers traveled have been submitted. His monthly travel allowance consists of a predetermined amount for the current value of the vehicle, as well as fuel and maintenance costs. Study the table and answer the questions. Calculate Mr. Navidad's monthly fixed traveling claim. So here's a fixed traveling claim. Now, this is Rand, but they want it monthly. Okay? Now, his vehicle, it says current value of the vehicle. Now, Mr. Navidad's vehicle is worth this amount over here. So that would put us over here in this column or this row. So they said, what would calculate the monthly fixed traveling claim? So there it is there. That's 76,000. That's not the answer. That's 76,033 per annum per year. So you will divide that by 12 to get the per month. And so that'll be 6,336 Rand and 8 cents. Mr. Navidad is thinking of buying a newer model vehicle that has a value of that. Calculate the missing value D that will represent Mr. Navidad's monthly maintenance cost if he decides to buy this vehicle. The amount for his maintenance claim is 1,329. Okay, so it's a bit of a weird question, but it's actually very easy. So they just want us to know, they want us to calculate this value. Okay, so it says, what is the cents per kilometer? So they're telling us that the maintenance claim, that's how much money is spent, and we know how many kilometers he drives. Some of you maybe didn't see that number. That's what I was struggling with as well. Okay, so what we'll do first is we'll just convert this into cents. So we'll say 1329 multiplied by 100. That'll give us the cents value, which would be that over there. Then we'll take that number and then just divide it by the kilometers, because it's cents divided by kilometers. So 132900 divided by the kilometers, 1,500. And that'll give us 88.6. And that's D, 88.6. Okay, now remember there are more questions coming up. We've got a beautiful 6-mark question over here. So it says, Mr. Navidad decides not to buy the newer vehicle. He states that he could claim back 8,825 after tax is deducted for his monthly travel allowance. He will be taxed at 25% of the actual amount that he can claim. Show by means of calculations whether his statement is valid. Okay, so they said that to calculate his claim, you're going to use this formula over here. Now, they said that his claim is that amount. So we're going to go use this formula, and we're going to see if we get to that amount over there to see whether his statement is valid. So Mr. Navidad decides not to buy the newer vehicle. So that means that he is still driving the Ford Ranger that is up to that value. So he's still in this category over here. Now we just use the formula. So the claim, to be honest, like I didn't even understand what they're saying over here, but I'm just going to use their formula. So the first part of the formula says that we need the monthly fixed traveling claim. Now remember, that was this value divided by 12, which is what we got earlier, which is the 6336.08. So 6336.08. Let's just make sure. Yeah. Plus, in brackets, kilometers driven is 1,500. Multiply by the fuel claim. Now, here we got to be careful. We're trying to calculate a value in rand, but this fuel claim is in cents. So we need to divide that by 100 to get it in rand per kilometer. So we're going to divide that with 100. Okay, so that it is in rand, because we're trying to calculate rand. Then you're going to say plus kilometers driven, 1,500 again, multiplied by the maintenance claim. Once again, we need to convert that into rand, so we will divide by 100. There we go. Go ahead, type that all in, and let's see what we get. And we get 9576.08. Okay, now we need to take into account this 25% tax, because they said that Mr. Navidad, he states that he could claim back 8,825 after tax has been deducted. So we need to now take that 25% tax and deduct it from here. So we need to take 25% of this away. So we're going to go work out what is 25% of 9576.08. So if you work out that, remember of just means multiply. So we end up with 2,394 rand and 2 cents. That's a 9. So now we need to take this number and then subtract. So 9576.08 minus 2394.02, and that'll give us 7182.06. That is how much he would be able to claim back, but he said it would be that amount, so the statement is not valid. With this question, it will carry on to the next slide. So we've got these two as well, and then these, and then up to number 7. Okay, so I've done my best to try put the annexure here. I know that some of the words won't be clear, but if there's anything that's important, I will highlight it for us. Okay, so it says that the top coffee producing countries around the world. Do you guys love coffee, by the way? I love coffee, but I actually stopped drinking normal coffee a while back, about maybe 3-4 months ago, and I'm now just doing decaf. I just wanted to see if it made me feel any different. So far I feel pretty normal. I just love coffee. Coffee is, oh man, when I go traveling or when I'm anywhere, I just love finding a lovely coffee shop. Or the best thing is, that happened to me was about in 2015. Okay, so in 2015 I just graduated from university, and I had to go to America for a certain reason, and I specifically went to Boston University. I'm not Boston University, just Boston, which is in America. And I actually went to the campus of MIT. I just wanted to have a look at it anyways. So it was really cold at that time of the year, and I was walking the streets. I was completely alone. Whenever I go travel, it's usually always been alone. I love it. Solo traveler. And I was, as I said, in Boston, very warmly dressed because it was really cold outside, like typical kind of snowy weather. And in Boston, they had this beautiful library, not a library, it was a bookshop. But in this bookshop, you can just imagine it's got like this, like inside the bookshop, there was a fireplace going, soft, beautiful music playing, coffee shop in the bookshop, and the most incredible atmosphere. People were eating, you could smell the food, and I'll never forget that. Just like I went and sat on the carpeted floor and just took out some books, and I just started reading in the coffee shop on the floor, or in the bookstore / coffee shop on the floor. And I think I spent hours there. When I came outside, when I walked outside, it was dark, and I had to walk super far to get home. But these are little memories that I'll never forget. So coffee, bookstore, fireplace, excellent. I just absolutely loved it. Okay, so that was probably very random, right? And so let's just actually carry on with this question. So it says the top coffee producing countries around the world produce coffee for 500 billion cups of coffee per year. Annexure B, which is this over here, shows the top coffee producing countries and how many 60 kilogram bags of coffee they produced in 2020. The first question, for only 2 marks, determine the range of the top coffee producing countries from around the world, including the rest of the world. So that's this one over here. So remember, range when we're looking at statistics or data, it's your highest minus your lowest. So we need to find the highest, which is going to be Brazil, and then the lowest is going to be the smallest little part, which would probably be Peru. It looks like Peru. Yes. So we're going to say 63.4 million minus 3.8 million, and that'll give us 59.6, and then we can just say million. This question says, determine the median of the top coffee producing countries in the world. Okay, so we're going to look at all these different countries, and we're going to arrange them from smallest to largest. We're not going to look at this one because that's not a country. That's just rest of world, so don't do that one. So we're going to arrange from smallest to largest because that's how we do median. So we're going to do Peru because that's the smallest. Then the next smallest is Mexico. And then I think it is Uganda. Then India. So we're going to go 5.6, 5.7. Then who are we next? Honduras, and then Ethiopia. Yeah. And then Indonesia, and then Colombia, 14.3, and then Vietnam. Is that it? And then lastly, we have Brazil. Wow, Brazil dominates the coffee market, 63.4. Now, the way that we find median is you just go from, you circle, so you're trying to find somewhere in the middle, okay? But a nice way to do it is you just circle from the front and the back, then you go from the front, then the back, from the front to the back, front, back. Now, sometimes you're going to end up with only one number in the middle, then it's very easy. But when you end up with 2 numbers like this, then all you do is you just add them together and then divide that answer by 2. And that'll give you 6.7 million. So say here, millions. Let's go write it over there. 6.7 million. The next question says, determine the interquartile range. Now, they say include the rest of the world. Okay, so 18.4 now needs to be included. So that would be over there, 18.4. And then what was that other number? 29. And then 63.4 for Brazil. Okay, so when we now... to go and find the interquartile range, we need to go and find Q3, and we need to go and find Q1. So what I like to do is first go find Q2. Q2 is your median. Now remember, it won't be the same median that we have here because we've now added the 18.4. So to find the median, I always like to go from front to back, front, back, front, back, front, back, front, back. Boom! It's one number in the middle. So that number there, that is called Q2 or median. Now, to find Q1, you're just going to look at these 6 numbers. Or is it 6 numbers? No, it's 5 numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you're going to find the middle of those 5 numbers. So the middle of those 5 numbers is going to be this one over here. So that's going to be Q1. Now, to find Q3, you're going to look at the middle of these 5 numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that would be this number over here. That number is exactly in the middle, so that would be Q3. So then when you go find IQR, which is your interquartile range, you say Q3 minus Q2, and so that would be 18.4 minus 5.6, and that'll give us 12.8 million. This question says, which two countries represent the bottom 25% of the top coffee producing countries from around the world? So it just said which two countries represent the bottom. So we're just going to take the two smallest ones. The two smallest ones would be Peru and Mexico. So Peru and Mexico. And explain what this means. Well, what it means is that if you look at all of these different countries, they are in the lowest 25%. So these two countries are the lowest coffee producing countries. Then this question says, what type of graph is used to show the top? Okay, what type of graph? This is a pie chart. So for 3.1.5 we can say pie chart. Let me write that a bit better. Okay, this question 3.1.6 says, show with calculations for 4 marks that the top 5 coffee producing countries produce an average of at least 74% of the world's coffee. Okay, so what we'll have to go and do is the top 5 would be definitely Vietnam, Brazil. We're not going to look at that. Well, we are going to include this one as part of the total, but we can't include that as part of the top 5 because that's a whole lot of countries in one. Definitely Colombia, Indonesia. Now, who's the next largest? I think it is Ethiopia. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So those are the 5 largest coffee producing countries in the world. So if we go add their numbers together, 14.3 plus 29 plus 7.3 plus 63.4 plus 12. If we add that together, that'll give 126. Now, to work that out as a percentage, we'd need to go see what is the total of all of this. So we're going to go add all those numbers together. So we've already added the first 5, so I'm not going to add them again. I'm just going to say 126 plus, then I'm going to do Peru, India, Mexico, Honduras, Uganda, and then rest of world. Just so we can see what is the total coffee that is produced by all the countries in the world. And that'll give us 169.6. So let's say you wrote a mathematics test out of 169.6 and you got 126. Then to work out your percentage, you would do it like that. And if we do that, we get 74.29%. Now the question said, show with calculations that the top 5 coffee producing countries produce an average of at least 74. Yep, they are correct because we got a little bit more than 74, so it's perfect. This question says, determine the probability of selecting a country from the top coffee producing countries from around the world, excluding the rest of the world. Okay, so we're not going to use this one. That produced more than 20 million bags of coffee. Write down your final answer as a percentage. Okay, so what they're trying to say is that out of all of these countries, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, out of those 10, determine the probability of selecting a country that produces more than 20 million. Okay, so which ones are more than 20 million? Well, it's only Brazil and Vietnam. So that's 2 out of 20. And so that will give you, and it said write your answer as a percentage. Okay, so we'll say times by 100, and that would eventually give us 20%. The first thing I want to show you with this question is that there are going to be more questions on the next slide. There will be these. Okay, so there's this question, these 3, and then these 2. Okay, I do apologize for all these little symbols in the background. That's just from Stanmore Physics, and they put these weird embedded images on the picture. This question says, 500 billion cups of coffee are consumed per year throughout the world. European coffee drinkers consume most of the coffee produced, and the Americans are second. Refer to the graphic representation on Annexure C, which is this one over here, which displays the percentage. Okay, so if you look carefully at the bottom here, we've got females, males, and all. And then, what else have they given us? Oh, these are the time slots. Geez, like a lot of people are waking us in early over there. 6 till 9, 9 till 12, 12 till 3, 3 till 6, 6 till 9, 9 till midnight, and then midnight until 3 o'clock. Okay, so it says, this first question, which of the following options, X, Y, or Z, best describes the data process that was performed before the representation could be drawn? Write down only letter X, Y, or Z. Okay, so obviously if they want to find out who drinks coffee, they would have to go to people, and the first step is they would have to go walk into coffee shops, don't only walk into coffee shops because everyone will say they love coffee, but you would have to walk around randomly and you would have to do a survey. Okay, that's usually what you would do first. Then people would tell you how much coffee they drink and blah, 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 blah. What you would then have to do is take all of that information and summarize it. Or you could even say, organize it. Once you've summarized and organized it, then you can draw it. So they said, which of the following describes the process that was performed before you could draw it? And so you would say either this one or this one. And so I checked on the memo, and both of these are actually taken as correct, X or Z. Of course, we also pose a question. We also say, do you like coffee, or when do you drink coffee? But that comes very early on. They want to know what happens just before you can draw this graph. Okay. Now, this question says, can the data collected be classified as numerical or categorical? Well, you see how they've got these different categories, like they're grouping them into female, males, all. So they're just seeing which category they fit into. And then they're also asking them, do you drink coffee in this category, this category, this category, this category, and so on and so forth. So this is going to be categorical. If this data was collected using a questionnaire, list 3 possible questions that could have been asked. Okay, well, let's say it's a questionnaire that you just leave it somewhere and people can pick up the questionnaire and they can answer it themselves. So your first thing you could ask is, are you female or male? So number 1, are you female or male? The next thing you could ask is, in which times do you drink coffee? And then you could maybe give them some check boxes where they can choose which of these they find themselves in. Okay? And then I guess we could also just ask them, do you drink coffee? Do you drink coffee? We probably could have asked them that right in the beginning. Do you drink coffee? Okay. Then this question says, where are we? We've done this one and this one. Describe the trend of coffee intake for males in comparison to females over a 24-hour period. Okay, so remember that males are, okay, well, females, this key isn't really nice. Okay, so females is going to be these white ones. That's females. Okay, and then I'll make it a little bit better for us. So females are going to be yellow. Then males will be the other one. And then we don't need to look at the total. We're just comparing males and females. Okay, so it says, describe the general trend of coffee intake for males in comparison to females. Okay, so, I mean, over here we can see that the females are less. Here the females are more. 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 Here the males are more. Males are more. Okay, so we can just say exactly that. We can say, Okay, wait, so this was from 3 until 6. So, okay, we can definitely see that the females are more here, here. So we can say from here to here. So from 6 in the morning until 6 p.m., the females drink more coffee. So from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., females drink more coffee. And then you could say, for example, before 6 a.m., it is the males that drink more coffee. Okay? So before 6 a.m., males drink more coffee. And then you could even add after 6 p.m., the males are also drinking more coffee. Okay, but for 3 marks, you only have to choose, I see on the memo they only chose 2 of those things. So they chose the big one that I spoke about over here, and then you could mention this one as well, or you could mention that one, or you could mention all of it, and that would also be fine. Okay, explain with justification whether the data presented is discrete or continuous. Okay, well, I've mentioned this in a previous video before. Discrete is data can be counted. Continuous is when you can measure. So continuous is measured. So if you are asking people if they drink coffee, you can count that. You can say that there were 7 females who drank coffee and 3 males who drank coffee. So that's something that you can count. Measuring is when you, like, for example, if you measured exactly how much coffee they drank, like 77 milliliters, or if you measure how tall someone is, or then you can get different values like 171.6 centimeters or 172.3 centimeters. Those are things that you measure. But when you're just counting how many people drink coffee, that is just counting, and so it will be discrete. And then we can just say something like the number of coffee drinkers can be counted. Okay, here's the last one for this one. It says, the data represented in the graph on Annexure C comes from one specialized coffee brand in America. The survey was done while the customers waited for their coffee. Explain if this data is biased or valid for the whole world. So this is definitely going to be biased, because it says here, they're trying to, well, first of all, this is not going to be reflective of the entire world, because they're only doing this in America. So it will be biased. You can't say that this is how it will be for the entire world. It might only be like that for American people, and it might only be like that for American people who drink this specific type of coffee brand. So we'll say here that it is biased. Study was only done in America, which is not reflective of the entire world. We can also say that only one brand was used. This question says, many people are moving to alternatives of animal-based dairy products for health reasons. When doing so, the necessary good nutritional properties have to be considered, such as protein, calcium, vitamins D and A, fiber, low calories, and low sugar is now being seen as the best choice. Refer to Annexure D, which is this one over here. which shows the nutrient content of animal-based milk and plant-based milk. So here you've got animal-based milk, and here you've got plant-based milk. Okay, so things like rice milk, coconut milk, almond milk, hemp milk, soy milk. And then here we've got normal animal-based, which is full cream. And then this one is no fat with added vitamins. Okay, now it says draw up a comparison table of the plant. Draw up a comparison table of the. So they only want to do it for the plant-based milk product and determine which product will fulfill the need in providing the best source of protein, calcium, vitamin D, vitamin A, and fiber. Oh, now they want fiber as well. Oh, they also wanted fiber there, as well as sugar and calories. Right, so this is pretty straightforward. So one of the ways we could do this is you can just take all the different categories that we're going to look at. So we're going to look at protein. We are going to look at calcium, vitamin D, vitamin A, fiber, sugar, and calories. So it's all of these categories over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, good. Then, so for example, in the protein, now the best source of protein for these plant-based milk products was the soy. Okay, so I'm going to put soy over here. Now for calcium, the best source is hemp. Okay. Then for vitamin D, the best source is soy because it's got the most. And then for vitamin A, it's also going to be soy. And then fiber, well, I'm going to take all 4 of these because if we're comparing it to the animal-based, and with the animal-based there's 0, and these ones are providing a little bit more or the same as the animal-based one. See, the animal-based one gives you 0. These ones give you 0 and a little bit more. Okay, so I'm just going to say all of them here. Then for sugar, we want it to be low in sugar. So for animal-based, it's 12. So we're going to look for the lowest sugar ones here. So it would maybe be those 3. They low in sugar. See how it said here, lowest amount of sugar. Okay, so that's going to be soy, hemp, and almond. Okay, then calories, what do we want? Do we want low calories? Okay, low calories. So the lowest calories would be your almond, for example. So now, based on that, you've got to come up with like a reasoning as to which one would satisfy these conditions. Now, I don't agree with the memo. What they say is they said for protein, they chose both of these ones. But if I look at the animal-based is giving you 8 grams of protein. Now, all of a sudden, if you drink hemp, which is what the memo has chosen, you're dropping your protein by more than half. So I would have gone with soy in order to keep your protein nice and high. They said... where did they say it? They said maximum protein. Now, if you're going from 8 to 3, you're more than halving your protein intake. So I wouldn't have chosen hemp for protein. For calcium, yes, hemp does very well. For vitamin D, hemp, they all do okay. But soy is actually the best for the vitamin D. And then for vitamin A, soy is the best again. They all did very well over here. These 3 did well over here. And then for calories, for low calorie, it would actually be almond that would have won. So if I look at 1, 2, 3, there's 7 categories. We can see soy wins 1, 2, 3. It comes in here as well, and it's here. So there's 5. So I'm going to disagree with the memo. And I'm going to say that I say soy is the best. Soy is best as it satisfies the most categories. So with these kind of questions, just when you in your exam, just as long as you understand what they're trying to do, they're pretty much trying to see which of these is the best one to replace these over here. Okay, and that could be very open-ended. I'm surprised that the memo didn't allow for more than one answer. They said that protein, they chose hemp, and they chose hemp for this one. They chose hemp for all of them, and I'm a bit confused there. Well, they didn't choose hemp only, but they said, for example, for the protein that both of these could be chosen, and I don't agree with that. I don't agree that you can halve your protein and that's still going to be considered fine. They would have to have given us better data to say something like the minimum requirement for an adult requires 2 grams of protein per glass of milk or something like that. And then we could be like, oh, well, this is 3, so that's good enough. But, so I would have gone with soy. Lilo is 68 years old. Is a 68-year-old woman who works for Andiswa Traders. She is the CEO of the company and earns a salary of 37,480 per month. She contributes an amount of 2614.88 towards her pension every month. Refer to Annexure E. Now, Annexure E is pretty much just going to be your tax tables, as well as on the next slide, you've got your rebates and your tax thresholds. Okay, so just remember that I couldn't fit that all onto one page. I could actually put those together. So there I've gone and put all of that together. So it's just your tax tables with your rebates. So we'll go backwards and forwards between the questions and those. So it says, prove that her annual gross. Now, when you say gross, that is always before any deductions. So they tell us that she earns a gross of 37,480 per month. So to work out what that would be per year, you're simply going to multiply that by 12. Multiply that by 12. And that'll give us 449,760. That is how much she earns per year. This question says, pension fund contributions are non-taxable. Determine her annual taxable income. Okay, so what they're saying is that this lady earns this amount of money, okay? But SARS, the people who do the taxes, they are not allowed to tax her on all of that. There are certain things that she is allowed to subtract from this number before SARS applies their taxes. And one of those things is a pension fund. The reason that they don't tax people on their pension fund is they are trying to encourage people to put money away for their pension fund. So let's say, for example, you earn 500,000 Rand per year. This is just an example. You earn 500,000 Rand per year, and every month you put away 1,000 Rand for your pension fund. That means in 1 year you will put away 12,000 Rand. So SARS, they're not going to tax you on this amount. They're going to tax you on 488,000 Rand, which is 500,000 minus 12,000. SARS will only tax you on that amount, and that means that you will pay less tax because you've got less amount, or you've got a smaller amount that they are going to be able to tax you on. Because remember, if they apply the tax percentage to this number, it'll be more than if they apply the tax percentage to this number, because this is a larger number. So not donating, but investing or putting money away for your pension fund is a good thing because it lowers your taxable income. Okay. I mean, of course we have to pay tax, but if you can legally pay less, then it helps. So what they're saying here, what is her taxable income? We know that this is her actual income, but how much of that can she be taxed by? So what we'll do is we'll just say every month, this is what she contributes. So we'll say 2614.88, and we'll multiply that by 12 to see what does she contribute to tax per year. And that'll end up being 31,378 Rand and 56 cents. So we're going to take this amount away from this amount. So we're going to say 449,760 minus 31378.56. And if we work this out, we get 418,381.56. 44. So that is her taxable income. That's what SARS can actually tax her on. There we go. This question says, use Annexure E. Now, this is an 8 mark. So it says, use Annexure E, which shows the tax brackets and personal income tax contributions for 2022 and 2023. Did they say 2000? Yeah, okay, it is 2022 and 2023. And to determine how much tax Lilo paid monthly in the 2022 tax year. Okay, so we pretty much, for 8 marks, we're going to go work out the whole tax that she has to pay for 2022. So, okay, so we know that the amount of taxable income is this number over here. So let's just go write that over here. So we're not going to look at this table. We're looking at this one. So that's 418,381.44. Okay, so if you look at that amount of taxable income, that'll put her into tax bracket number 3. Okay, so the amount, because that amount there is somewhere in between here. So let's go highlight that. So they tell us that the amount of taxes will be 70,532 Rand. So 70,532 Rand plus. Then it says 31% of all of the taxable income above 33780. So I'm going to say plus 31% of. Now, how do I work out the amount above 33780? Well, all I do is I just take this number and I minus that number, and that'll tell us how much above she went above 337,800. So we're going to go 418. Okay, I'm going to run out of space over there. Let's just do it over here. So 70,532 plus 31% of. Now we're going to go 418,381.44 minus 337,800. And remember, of means multiply, and then 31%, you can write that however you like. It could be 31 and then you put the percent on your calculator. You could say 31 over 100, or you could just say 0.31. Any one of those three is fine. And so if we go calculate this, we end up with 95,512.25 if we round off. But now remember, we get tax rebates where we need to just go find out how old this person was. I can't remember. She's 68. So she actually qualifies for your primary and secondary rebate. Now, sorry, not this number. We're looking over here at your tax rebates. So she's 20, it's in 2022. She will qualify for the primary, and then because she's in the 65 and older, she will also qualify for this one. And then if she was 75 and older, she would qualify for this one, and this one. So that's the way tax tables work. So what we'll do now is we are going to minus the tax rebates. Tax rebates are nice things. It means your taxes become less. And then we will also minus this one. And so her taxes will now be 71,185.25. But I think they said monthly. Let's just see here. Use annexure, tax, determine how much Lilo pays monthly. Okay, so then we take that number, 71,185.25, and we just divide that by 12 to get what she will pay per month. And that'll be 5,932 Rand and 10 cents. That is what Lilo will pay for taxes per month. This question for 4 marks. So now we have a different person. Bongiwe is a business owner and she's 77 years old. Bongiwe earns a monthly gross income of 13,123.28. Lilo claims that Bongiwe paid tax in 2022 but is not supposed to make any contributions towards her personal tax in 2023. Show the calculations whether her statement is correct. Okay, so what we're pretty much going to go do is we're going to go see for the year 2023, what is Bongiwe's taxes going to be? And Lilo believes that her taxes will be 0. Some people pay 0 tax because of something called tax threshold. Now let's go see if Bongiwe fits under that, or let's see what happens. So if we look at Bongiwe, she earns a monthly of that amount. So we're going to convert that into a yearly quickly. So 13,123.28. So 13,123.28. Let me just double check. 13,123. Yeah. Okay. That's her monthly. So yearly or annually would be that times 12. So 13,123.28 times 12. And that'll be 157,479.36. So that will put her. Now, we don't have to go do the whole taxes. I mean, we can if you want to, and I can show you how amazing it actually is. Let me show you quickly. It's pretty cool. There's 2 ways you could do this right now. You could look straight ahead and just go to the tax threshold, and you could look for 2023. And we know that Bongiwe is a 77-year-old. So if we go down to 75 and older, the threshold, what that means is the amount. If you are under the tax threshold, you don't pay tax. If you are over the tax threshold, you do pay tax. So have a look here. That is the tax threshold. So you have to earn more than that in a year to pay tax. But she earns less than that. So she doesn't pay any tax. She doesn't pay any personal income tax. That's the one way you could have done this. You could have done it in a different way. You could have done it in a longer way, but maybe some of you are interested in how that works. So you would go to the 2023 tax year. You would see that Bongiwe fits into tax bracket number 1 because of her annual salary or her annual income is there. So she will be taxed at 18%. So we're going to take 18% of 157,479.36, and that'll give us 28,346.28. So that is how much tax she would have to pay. But then we will go and apply rebates. So here's the rebates for 2023. She's a primary, she fits into the secondary, and she's a tertiary. So we will subtract all of those. 16,425 minus 9,000 minus 2,997. And you actually end up getting a negative number. So she pays negative tax. What that means is that she pays 0 tax. Does that mean SARS pays her money? No, unfortunately not. It just goes down to 0. So there's 2 different ways that I've showed you how you could do this. I think the easiest way is just to use this. But I know that a lot of learners would have also loved to see that way. That it all works out actually. If you did work this out, sorry, I should have just given you here, negative 75 Rand 72, meaning that she pays absolutely no tax because she's under the threshold. Okay, so we've done that question. Then this question, show with calculations how the fixed amount of 73726, where's that in tax bracket? Oh, 73726. Oh, okay. Show how that was calculated in 2023. Excellent. Let me show you. Okay, so all that you do is you look at the number that they want us to get, and then you just go to the previous tax bracket, which is this one, and then you just apply this formula, and you use the largest amount. That's how it works. You use the largest amount, because think about it, to go from tax bracket 2 to tax bracket number 3, you need to be in the largest, you would have passed the largest amount. So, as I said, use this tax bracket, use the largest amount, and use this formula, and you will get to that. Let me show you. So you're going to say 40,680, so 40,680 plus. Then you're going to say 26% of the taxable income above 226,000. So you're going to take this number minus this number so that you can see how much larger than this are you. So you're going to say 353,100 minus 226,000, and then of means times, and then 26%, as I said, you can say 26% on the calculator, you could say 26 over 100, or you could just say 0.26. And if you work this out, guess what? You end up with 73726. There we go. So if you want to find out, let's say, for example, you wanted to find this number, then you would go to the previous tax bracket and you would use this formula and you would use it on the largest amount. Okay. Marshall completed his studies and starts a new job. He earns a monthly salary of $14,935. He needs to buy a vehicle. He would like to buy a small second-hand vehicle from ABS dealership that offers finance. He is interested in the Hyundai 2013, is available for $79,000 cash. He can buy the car on credit, where he'll pay a deposit of $10,000 and 60 monthly installments of that. This amount does not include insurance. Okay, so let's quickly summarize what we have here. We've got a person called Marshall who's just finished studying and wants to buy a car. When you buy a car, there are two ways you can buy a car. You can either pay cash, where you pay for the full car in one price, or you can finance the car, which is what most people do because it's just a bit easier on the pocket. And this is where you will pay it off over time. Okay, but with this option, you will end up spending more because of things like interest and things like that that the bank adds. But if you pay for it cash, then you literally just pay the cash amount. Now, this question says, what is the total amount that Marshall will pay if he decides to buy it on credit or on finance? Okay, so he's going to pay a deposit. A deposit is an amount that you pay on the same day that you buy the car. So you're going to pay 10,000 Rand plus, then they say he's going to make 60 monthly payments of 1,985. So 1,985, 60 times. And if you go work this out, it must be more than 79,000. Otherwise, something is gone wrong. Ooh, 129,000. Now, this is how it actually works in real life. You end up paying a lot more than if you just pay it cash. But not everyone has 79,000 Rand just sitting there to pay for a car. So for some people it is, or for most people, it is better to just pay 1,985 per month because everyone gets paid monthly, so it makes sense, but you do end up spending more over time, so you must understand that. Marshall claims that he could save more than 40,000 Rand if he buys the car cash compared with on credit. Evaluate his statement by means of calculations. Well, if we simply minus these two numbers, let's see what happens. If we say 129,100 minus 79,000, we end up with 50,100 Rand. So Marshall said that he could save more than 40,000 Rand. He actually saves 50,000 Rand. So yes, statement is valid. Statement is valid. This question for 6 marks says, a loan offer is available from Trust Bank. Okay, so this is a different type of financing compared to this one over here. There's a new bank that says, hey, we'll give him a different offer. We'll give him 90,000 Rand at an interest rate of 10% per annum, compounded quarterly. The maximum period of the loan is going to be 36 months. It says that Marshall decides to take the loan over a period of 2 years. Determine how much he would repay after 9 months. So all that we'll do is we will take, okay, so it's a 90,000 Rand loan, so we'll just say 90,000. Now, they're using 10% per year. Remember, that means per year, but they're compounding quarterly. So what we will do is we will, okay, so let's just say 90,000. Then the quarterly interest rate, will be, so it's 10% per year, but there are 4 quarters in a year. So we divide that by 4 and that'll give us 2.5%. So that is the quarterly interest rate. Now think about quarters. In 1 year, there are 4 quarters. So that means every 3 months. So every 3, 6, 9, 12. That's why there are 4 quarters in a year. Because it's every 3 months for 12 months. 3, 6, 9, 12. So a quarter is every 3 months. So what we will do is we will take the 90,000 Rand and we will grow it. We will let the loan grow using the quarterly interest rate for 3 quarters, because a quarter is every 3 months, but they want us to go all the way to 9 months. So we're going to take the 90,000 and we're going to let it grow using this percentage 3 times. Okay, so we're going to go, because it's compound, so we're going to go 90,000 multiply by 2.5%, and that'll give us, you could also say 2.5 multiplied by 90,000. That'll give us 2,250 Rand. So after 1 quarter, which is after 3 months, the loan will be worth 92,250 Rand. Okay, now we're going to take that amount, because it's compound interest, and we're going to get times that by 2.5%, and that'll give us 2306.25. So we will now add that, we'll add that and that together. So 92250 plus 2306.25, and that'll give 94556.25. So that'll be after 2 quarters, which is 6 months. So now we have to do it once more. So we're going to go 2.5% of 94556.25, and that'll give us 2,363 Rand and 91 cents. So now we will add those two. And if you add those two numbers together, so I'm running out of space here, let's say 94556.25 plus 2363.91, that'll give us 96920. Okay, let me write this a bit better for you guys. Let me write it here. 96920.19 Rand. So that is that question over there, complete. This question says that Marshall is considering buying a new vehicle in a few years. He needs to take inflation into consideration. The expected inflation rate for the next 3 years is as follows: 2024, 2025, and 2026. A new Hyundai is currently priced at 139,800. Determine how the 2023 price will change over the next 2 years and whether it would be wise for him to wait. Okay, so pretty much this question says we have a brand new Hyundai that is currently worth 139,800. This one over here was a second-hand one, okay? That was an old 2013. We're looking at a 2023, and that is currently worth 139,800. But we know that because of something called inflation, the prices of things usually go up. Like if you want to buy a brand new Hyundai in 2023, or if you buy it in 2024 or in 2025, it'll be more expensive in 2025 when you want to buy the brand new Hyundai. So what we'll do is we'll take this amount over here and we will increase it by that percentage to see what it will be worth in 2024. And then we'll take that amount and increase it by that percentage to see what it will be worth in 2 years in 2025. We're not going to go to 2026 because that's 3 years away. So we're going to say 139,800. Well, let's first do the percentage. So you could say 1.25% of 139,800. And that'll be 1,747.50. So that is how much the Hyundai will go up in the year 2024. So what will it be worth? It will then be worth 139,800 plus 1,747.50. And so it'll be worth 141,547.50. Okay, that's at the end of 2024. Now we're going to see what it will be worth in 2025. So we're going to take that number now, 141,547, Some learners often, they would ask, can you add these two numbers together and just use that number? Nope, you have to go one step at a time. That's the way compound works. It won't work the other way. And so we're going to take 0.5% of that number. And if we do that, that'll give us 707 Rand and 74 cents. So we're going to add that to this amount over here now. And so we're going to say 141,547.50 plus 707.74, and that'll give us 142,255.24. And so that is what the car will be worth in 2 years. So that is what the car is worth in 2023. That is what it will be worth in 2025. I think it would be good for him. I looked on the memo. You can say yes or no. I think it will be good for him to wait. It will be good to wait. 2 years will give him time to save up money, and the car price will not increase much. We can see that it only went from 139,800 to there. So it only went up by like 2,500 Rand in 2 years. That's not too bad. If you said that it won't be good, you could say it won't be good for him to wait because the price is increasing. So there will be more interest or something like that.